Welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, it's been a long one, Shane. I'm going to crack one open with you. But I am excited, brother, because we're going to talk some Mississippi State foosball, Shane. And, you know, that they're one of the best fan bases in the SEC, and they've all spring have basically said, hey, you ain't talking enough Mississippi State football. Well, we're about to do a deep dive on your entire program, so how's that sound, buddy?
Oh, I love it, man. I'll tell you, man, I've been doing these big orange walks, just got done with one, still wearing the garb. Tomorrow's weigh in. I'm excited about that. And, it's funny. I've been putting them out every day, and the most reactions I ever get is from Mississippi State fans. When I put that Dak Prescott, the year that they were undefeated and they barely beat Arkansas there at the tail end, hell of a throw. It was just, like I said, it was the most viral Big Orange Walk clip I put out there. So, dude, this fan base is hungry, and they want to be good. They want to be back on top of that mountain, Mike. Are we going to get there this year?
Well, we're about to find out, brother. But let's do a quick recap, though, of last season.
Yep.
9-4. Third in the SEC West, exceeded expectations like they seemingly always do. They get discounted in the preseason. They do better in the fall, Shane. But for me, I don't want to say we wrote them off early because they lost to LSU, but that was one we all had circled. It seemed like a game they could have won. It was in Baton Rouge, first year under Brian Kelly, and they dropped that one. And I don't know about you, Shane, but I was just sitting here saying, well, we were hyping this up as a possible 10-win team, and that's usually the game that defines it. And technically, I guess it did for a 10-win season, but we are at a point now, Shane, where 9-4, I don't want to call it a disappointment, but it was, that's the standard now at Mississippi State. And, of course, we have to mention the legend Mike Leach. It was his final season. They finally got over Lane Kiffin and won that Egg Bowl in dramatic fashion, thanks in large part to the defense. The defense has been criminally underrated under Zach Arnett. They have been the stronger side of the ball, in my opinion, over the 3 years of the Mike Leach era. Aside from maybe some of those, his debut was just electric, beating LSU, defending national champs. So we all remember the big offensive showcases. And of course, Will Rogers, he's already, Shane, the school's all-time leading passer, and he could play for 2 more years if he wants to. But it's been that defense under Zach Arnett, and I think that's why Mississippi State fans are so confident in their Bulldogs, because Zach Arnett has been elevated to the head coach here in Starkville.
Yeah, man, and again, off the last note, obviously losing the Pirate, that was tough for us, especially. I know it's tough for all those Mississippi State fans, and going into last season, it felt like this was the year. This was the year that they take that big step forward, and it was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, man, it was a little awkward at first. It was tough for me to put my finger on what this Mississippi State team was last year, because you would see just absolute blowouts, and then they'll turn around, and like you said, the LSU's a prime example. It's like, what are we doing? It felt like we squandered that game. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
If you rewatch that thing, it felt like there was an opportunity, and so now you're looking at possibly 10 wins. Even they're really, even Georgia, they played those guys tough, and if things could have went their way, maybe they could have got them an upset victory there. But it was just a wild, wacky season, and of course ended on a tragic note. But you look back, 9-3, that's not that bad, brother.
No. I mean that's a hell of a year for most programs in the SEC. But like I'm saying, Shane, I don't want to say that's the expectation every year, but the expectation is to have a winning season, go to a bowl game, win a bowl game, beat Ole Miss. Mississippi State, I believe, Shane's got a 13-year bowl streak. The only SEC teams that currently have a longer one are Alabama and Georgia. So that's where we're at here with Zach Arnett taking over his first year in Starkville. So let's jump into it. Doesn't have the stats like these other head coaches because obviously he's only coached one game as a head coach, and it was the big bowl win over Illinois in the ReliaQuest Bowl. But he's two-time Broyles Award nominee. That's an award given to the top assistant coach in the country, and he was Mike Leach's defensive coordinator his entire time there at Mississippi State. So this was certainly a play for continuity and keeping that defense together, and they kept the roster together because a lot of times when there's coaching changes, Shane, everybody jumps into that portal.
Yeah.
But Mississippi State did a hell of a job keeping this defense together. We'll get to the offense here in just a minute, but it's going to be led, Shane, by, I don't want to call him a question mark because his numbers are prolific, Shane, but the offensive coordinator, Kevin Barbay, who was at Appalachian State last year. Remember, that was the team that went into College Station, and they gave Texas A&M their first loss. Well, how about this, Shane? Before that, he was at Central Michigan under Jim McElwain, the old Shark boy down there in Florida. But according to our buddy Dave Bartu, Shane, his analytics, Kevin Barbay, our new offensive coordinator, ranks number one among all active college football offensive coordinators in career average passing game efficiency. So what that means is his quarterbacks, his passing game, more efficient than any other offensive coordinator in the entire nation. So maybe Mississippi State got them a little gem here, Shane. And that's not the only stat that Dave Bartu's dug up for us, Shane. Top 15% passing touchdowns per attempt. Top 20% fewest interceptions per attempt. Top 25 in quarterback rating and quarterback efficiency. And top 30 yards per attempt. So what that means, Shane, explosive passing plays. That's what Kevin Barbay specializes in, explosions. Pushing the ball down the field, scoring, not making mistakes. And if I'm Mississippi State fan, I'm Will Rogers, Shane. I couldn't be happier to hear those stats. You know what?
Well, I mean, and your head coach is echoing those sentiments all offseason and during the spring game. So they're going to let Will Rogers cook. And I think, you know, when I think of going back to the Pirate, when I think of him, I think of a ton of passing yards, you know. I think of fun and gun. I think of let's grip and rip and have some fun. You know, that's what I was expecting, and it feels like that's what we're going to get moving forward with Mississippi State. So that's exciting. And then Arnett took that defense and created something. Everybody was excited about Mississippi State's offense, but honestly, it was that defense that kept them in those games. And your defensive coordinator is now your coach. So I think we're in good shape here, and I just love everybody asked what was the most important hire in this offseason. I think it was Arnett getting this offensive coordinator and hopefully got it right here. I mean, Bartu says, you know, I'm surprised he ain't doing stats on us, you know.
Yeah, and, I mean, when you're putting in a new offense, Shane, you literally could not ask for a more experienced college quarterback than Will Rogers because he's been starting for 3 seasons, going into his 4th season as a starter down there in Mississippi State. So that should make for a smooth transition. There's never any guarantees, but you literally cannot ask for a more experienced quarterback if you're Kevin Barbay. I think that coordinator hire, Shane, is one that's not being talked about enough in the SEC. And certainly there will be a transition because you're going from the air raid to, you know, where they throw it seemingly 80 times a game to an offense that's more balanced, that utilizes tight ends. So how well do the pieces fit this offense? That is just something we won't have an answer for until we get to the fall. But that's why these guys make all this money, Shane, to get this resolved. And it sure as hell looked good in the spring game. But it was basically a total staff overhaul on the offensive side, Shane. We've also got receivers coach Chad Bumpus. And you'll like this one, Shane. This is one of those. He's a Mississippi State former standout. His 4 seasons at Mississippi State, he led the team in receptions 3 of the 4 years. Outstanding player from Tupelo. He was at Utah last 2 years as their receivers coach, and they won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. So at least that seems like a home run hire right there for Zach Arnett.
Absolutely. Tupelo. I got sidetracked, man. You said that. I started thinking of Elvis and that time I went down to Memphis. What a waste of money that was. You couldn't even go upstairs, you know? It's like, what's the king hiding up there, you know?
And then here we're seeing a little bit more of this, Shay. Billy Napier's done it now. We've got it at Mississippi State. We got 2 offensive line coaches, so again, unusual.
Okay.
But they hired Will Friend, who's been in the SEC forever. Shane, he was at Auburn the last 2 years as the offensive line coach. He was at Tennessee the 3 years before that as O-line coach. Colorado State for 3 seasons under Mike Bobo, offensive line coach, and then he was at Georgia for 4 seasons as the offensive. Right. So he's been all over the SEC. According to Bartu, they're top 20% graded offensive line over the last 15 years, and Will Friend has been a coach. So, I mean, that's pretty strong right there. And a good recruiter,
man.
Absolutely.
Always on top of the list. So
now here's our other offensive line coach. Shane, he's going to coach the tackles and the tight ends, and we're giving him run game coordinator. Here's another one to know, Shane. Mike Schmidt, who was at Syracuse the last 2 years, and then he was at San Diego State for 10 years, where he has that connection with Zach Arnett. And why is this such a big name to know, Shane? At Syracuse, their running back, he was an All-American, Sean Tucker. When he was at San Diego State, Shane, they had a running back named Donnell Pumphrey who left college as the all-time leading rusher in NCAA history. I didn't realize that. I had to double-check that. And they also had an All-American at San Diego State, Rashad Penny, who's in the NFL now. So,
absolutely.
I mean, we're sitting here looking at this guy's track record, and it's these are, schools and programs we don't follow, so this is totally new to me. But when you're looking at a guy's track record and you're seeing All-American, all-time leading rusher, clearly he knows what he's doing. And who better to bring into Mississippi State, where they didn't run the ball a ton, to kind of introduce running the football, so to speak, for the Bulldogs.
Well, I think the most important stat there is, where was he? It wasn't like he was in Georgia or Alabama, where you're just naturally going to get these numbers. He had to identify talent that clearly wasn't a 4 or 5 star and make them into something. I have no idea what Perry was, but I'll tell you, he's a hell of a player. If he can stay healthy in the NFL, he's a hell of a player. So, I had no clue until today, Mike.
Yeah, no, and that's another great point, Shane. Look at you making all these great points.
Dialed in. We need to start doing these after these walks, Mike. I'm firing on all cylinders, man.
And then defensive line coach David Turner, Shane, 3rd time back as a Mississippi State defensive line coach. He was at Georgia Tech last year as a defensive line coach. Before that, 3 seasons at Florida under Mullen. A&M defensive line coach before that. Then he was at Mississippi State for the 2nd time. Kentucky, Mississippi State the 1st time, and Alabama. So, again, Zach Arnett looking around saying, who's been in the SEC for 30 years, could coach up linemen. Give me that guy. He knows how to recruit, knows how to develop. These are very, very impressive hires for a first-time head coach in the SEC.
Yeah, that was a tough – I would imagine, convincing staff to come – because we don't know the future Arnett. I mean, I'd love to see this be a Cinderella story and him stick around for a long, long time. But, that's why you can't just go out and hire anybody, because what does it look like 3 years from now? Do I have a job, or can we go somewhere else? So, I think it's very impressive what he's been able to put together here.
And, Shane, I would add to that, again, Mississippi State, 3rd longest bowl streak in the SEC. Just won 9 games. Mm-hmm. The fans are not going to sit on their hands if they go 5-7 and be like, "Oh, he's doing a good job." Hell no, they're going to say, "We may have to move on from it." You know what I mean? So, not saying that'll happen by any means, but that's a tough sell to people to say, "Hey, come into Mississippi State. The expectations are sky high. Mm-hmm. We got this thing rolling. Help me take it to the next level." That is not an easy ask, particularly with Texas and Oklahoma coming into our league here pretty soon. So, again, I think that speaks to Zach Arnett's ability to recruit some elite coaches to come down here to take us to that next level in Starkville.
Absolutely.
So let's discuss the returning production, Shane, on the offensive side of the ball for Mississippi State. 57% of the offensive production is back, 10th in the SEC. That's where that ranks. But we got the key piece right here, Shane, because over 98% of the passing yards are back, thanks to Will Rogers, who threw for 3,974 yards. These are crazy SEC stats. You know what?
Oh, man. If you total up all the walks I've done, I haven't hit 3,000 yards. Get bar 2 out. I don't know if that's right or not, but it doesn't feel right.
51% of the rushing is back, Shane, led by Woody Marks, 582 yards. Now, we did lose Dylan Johnson to the transfer portal. We'll get to more of that in a minute. So we're going to need some running backs to step up. Receivers, Shane, this is another one. I think this is just a reflection of them changing the offense and Mike Leach no longer running the show. I think a lot of these receivers looked around and said, well, we're not going to be throwing it 80, 90 times a game, so maybe I ought to leave. Only 36.5% of the receiving yards are back. 6 of the top 9 receivers from last year are gone. Many of those hit the portal, but that's just going to free up more touches for Tulu Griffin and Xavion Thomas, who looked outstanding in the spring game. And then on the offensive line, Shane, we bring back 4 guys with starting experience. So they got a lot to work with, and they've added some JUCO pieces as well. There is a real chance, Shane, that Mississippi State's offense does a 180 this year under this new coaching staff.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember Leach throwing them chairs, you know. He wasn't always happy with those receivers. So, I mean, maybe a clean slate is not a bad idea and just starting fresh. So, I like you said, I'm going off the spring game. If they could continue off that, keep building that momentum, they got some dudes, man.
I'm still chuckling at Mike Leach with those damn chairs.
Talking to their girlfriends. What do you say? Yeah.
Now, how about the defense, Shane? Returning only 43% of the production. That ranks 13th in the SEC, so second to last. But, man, Shane, maybe the 2 best linebacker duo in the entire SEC. Top 2 tacklers from last year in the entire conference, Jet Johnson and Boogie Watson, are back. The top 3 tacklers return, but the next 7 are off. So only 3 of the top 10. But if you're only going to have 3 of the top 10, Shane, you want the 3 at the top, and that's what we got at Mississippi State. 46% of the sacks are back. Only 14% of our interceptions from last year are back. So secondary, losing some key pieces there. Emmanuel Forbes, of course, a first-round NFL draft pick. So we got some star power to replace in the secondary.
Yeah. But again, you got the king of defense as your coach. I am not worried. He will identify talent back there. He will restock this roster.
So let's shift, Shane, to the transfer portal, starting with the players they lost to the transfer portal. Only 2 of these, I think, are really kind of critical, Shane, and that's Ra Thomas, who transferred to Georgia, really good receiver, and then Dylan Johnson, I already mentioned him, running back, transferred to Washington. I think those are 2 pieces that you're going to wish that you had if you're Mississippi State this fall, but we've added some pieces too. We'll get to that in a second. Caleb Ducking, Shane, I can't believe this. I don't know the story, but he got in the portal right after the season, and to my knowledge, he's not landed anywhere. So is there a spot back for him? I don't know, but
maybe he can dance on back to campus. You know?
That's what I'm saying.
Waddle on back.
And then we had one just the other day, Shane, Rufus Harvey, another receiver. But I hear, this seems like a sad story. Starkville native. I think, as it's relayed to me, Shane, he wants to keep playing football, but I think he's medically, they won't let him. So he's essentially, that's my understanding. I apologize if any of this is incorrect. So I think now he's in the portal to see, if someone's willing to take a chance with, and I don't know the specifics of his injury, but it just sounds like he may not be able to play football any longer, that's tough for,
that sucks.
Especially a Starkville native that he had to have grown up wanting to be a star for Mississippi State,
I would imagine. I don't know him personally or anything, but I would imagine that's tragic, man. That sucks. You always want to play your last game. You don't know when it's going to happen all the time, and you kind of want it to be your last, like So I just kind of hate that for the kid.
Now, they lost a couple quarterbacks, Shane, but we never really seen these guys, so I don't know how much of a loss that truly is, to be honest with you. They lost a number of other guys, but most of them didn't go to a big school. So the only three that stand out. Javon Banks, the defensive lineman, he went to Kansas State. Defensive back, Adarion Collins went to Penn State. And then, Shane, can you believe this? A kicker? Kicker left, but he went to Michigan. Hudson Holdback. Hold me back from you going to that garbage conference. You know what?
That's right. You kick him cold footballs, buddy. You enjoy it up there in Ann Arbor.
So now let's switch to the guys we got incoming, Shane, to Mississippi State. And, this raised eyebrows when it happened. I'm still kind of perplexed by it, but I'm putting him at the top of the list because I don't know how they're going to utilize him. But given what we've already seen from him in this conference, I have to imagine he's going to get on the field in some capacity, and he's going to make a splash in some shape or form. And I'm talking, Shane, Mike Wright, quarterback from Vanderbilt. He was a team captain up there, led them to wins over Kentucky and Florida, over 2,000 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, 908 rushing yards, another 7 on the ground. So when I say we'll see him, I'm not suggesting we're going to bench Will Rogers for Mike Wright, but I certainly could see
packages.
Wildcat, packages, goal line, even throw him out. If we get, God forbid, an injury to a receiver or two, maybe we give Mike Wright some run out there. He is just so explosive, so dynamic. And heck, throw him out there with Will Rogers, and we'll do some double passes. And I just think he'll have a big impact on this football team.
He kind of reminds, because, obviously this was a big head scratcher for me too, because it seems like there were other options. Even staying in Vanderbilt, I think was an option. But man, I when I think of Mike in this system, the first name that comes to my mind is old Pittsburgh Steeler Antoine Randall. You remember him, right? And it just felt like he was a Swiss Army knife that could just about do anything. In worst case scenario, he is a reliable backup quarterback on your team. So I think they're going to keep him on the field, probably not as quarterback, but if Will does get banged up or something, you got a guy that can step in and lead your team.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shane, I already said we lost a kicker for some damn reason to Michigan. Well, that's all right, because we brought one in, brother. We brought in Nicholas Barmira from UCLA, made 35 of 49 field goals up there, so over 71%, and he's made 143 PATs, so 97% on PATs. Very experienced kicker. I think we can slide him right into the starting lineup. Yeah. And how about this, Shane?
That other kicker was wondering why all the shit was packed already, They already had this guy on the hook, like, oh, man, we really hate that you're leaving. Hey, your bus is, your cab's out front,
With the new offense, we need tight ends, Shane. We haven't had a tight end in this offense for 5-6 seasons. Rylan Good from Georgia. Never got on the field at Georgia, but he was a touted recruit. And saying you can't get on the field at tight end at Georgia, that's because they had all-world future NFLers up there. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he's probably NFL talent too. He just can't get out there.
Yeah, he could be a diamond in the rough. And how about this, Shane? I had no idea. I totally missed this when it happened. They added a tight end from TCU, George Querius Spivey. And why this is so unique, Shane? Guess where he started his college career?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. So he's back for another. He went to TCU and said, what is this joke of a football conference? Get me back to the SEC. He had 11 catches, 136 yards, and a touchdown.
He's like, we didn't lose too bad to Georgia up there at Mississippi State.
Now, Shane, I said they lost some production in the secondary. Well, here's where they make it up. Kamari Rogers from Miami. He was only down there 1 year. He was the number 15 corner in the entire country. He's a Mississippi native. So coming home, Kamari Rogers, he could be an instant impact player. one of the most talented players they have in the secondary. Radarius Jones from LSU, another Mississippi native, former 4-star. Didn't play last year because he was suspended, but if you can get on the field at LSU, which he did his entire time, you can play at Mississippi State too. So there's 2 impact players. And Christopher Keys from Indiana had 14 tackles and a pass breakup. So getting some nice experience via the transfer portal in this secondary. We're going to need these guys. They also added a running back, Kevon Lee from Penn State, Shane, over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns during his time at Penn State. So we're getting some running back depth, and added a punter, an Australian punter, Shane. So but these Australians are taking over. You know what?
Absolutely. Is he one of those that runs around at the side and everything? I wonder.
I think they all do.
Oh, okay. Them crazy bastards, you know. It's so ugly. It's like it's like this is the worst punt ever, and then all of a sudden it's 55 yards down the field and everybody's around it because nobody wants to pick it up. So no, I'm all for Aussie punters, man.
Now the recruiting, Shane, they finished 26th in the country. That's low for Mississippi State standards, but obviously you have to factor in there was a coaching change, and other coaches were trying to pick apart their commits and everything like that. I think they only lost 1 commit during that entire time. So hell of a job to Zach Arnett and company. They landed the number 10 safety in the country, Isaac Smith. He was an All-American. The number 14 athlete who's going to be a receiver, Creed Whittemore, right out of Gainesville, Shane, a 4-star from Gainesville. The number 36 safety, Kelly Jones, and the number 27 quarterback, Chris Parson from my neck of the woods here in Nashville, very touted quarterback, joining Mississippi State. And then here's where I think we can get some real impact, Shane, via the junior college ranks. Junior college football is huge in the state of Mississippi. Yeah. So these Mississippi schools, they know the guys to pick up. They got the number 1 JUCO running back, Jeffrey Pittman. So instant impact, I have to believe. Number 4 offensive tackle from the JUCO ranks, Leon Bell. The number 5 JUCO receiver, Jacoby Belazar, and then the number 6 JUCO defensive lineman, Eric Taylor. So hard to believe some of these guys, if not all of them, are going to make an impact for Mississippi State this fall.
Oh, yeah, man. I like JUCOs. Because every now and then you get 1 or 2 that just pop and change your whole team dynamic here. So, right. I'm all for this. And I think we kind of skated over it talking about, being able to keep the recruits. But the rumor mill, too, was about the portal. I mean, I fully expected more of these kids to hit the portal and leave Mississippi State. So the fact Arnett and company was able to maintain that, I mean, I think that speaks volumes to the kind of culture he's trying to maintain down there.
Yep, we're looking at you, Hugh. All right, position breakdown, Shane. I'm going, starting with the offense, of course, quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Thanks in large part to Will Rogers and Mike Wright. We mentioned we love Mike Wright. And that freshman, Chris Parson, a 4-star. I mean, that's a pretty effective trio right there.
Yeah, and so Mike Wright, he has no eligibility past this year, right? He's a 5th-year senior, isn't he? And he graduated senior?
I think he's got, because of COVID, I think he's got 2 years to play.
Oh, shit. I was under the impression he just had the 1. So, well, I think that could work out, man. Maybe that's why. That makes sense. For some reason, I was under the impression this was like his final year. But, no, okay. I like this quarterback room, man. I think Will Rogers is being slept on. I see a couple things, Heisman, dark horse, that sort of thing. Expect a lot of yards down here. There's going to be a lot of throwing, and I think it's all going to be on the shoulders. A lot of people forget about Will Rogers. They won't by the end of this season.
Second position group, in my opinion, Shane, is the receivers. Bringing back Jaden Wally, who he tore it up his freshman year. He was the first freshman since Chad Bumpus to lead the team in reception. So it all comes full circle here. Tulu Griffin, outstanding kick returner. He's one of those guys making plays in the spring game. He led the entire nation, Shane, in kickoff return average, over 32 yards per return. He also returned a kickoff for a touchdown. Justin Robinson's back. He had 30 catches, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. Xavion Thomas was a freshman All-American punt returner, last year. He's back for year 2. He's the one that had the incredible one-handed grab touchdown from Will Rogers. He looks like he's going to be a big-time player. I'm still counting Rufus Harvey in here, the guy that got injured, who's in the portal, but let's hope he can make a comeback. I feel bad about not including him. Jordan Mosley, the transfer from Northwestern. Creed Whittemore, that freshman from Gainesville. And then the number 5 JUCO receiver that I mentioned, Jacoby Belazar. Again, they lost, 6-7 receivers to the portal. This is still a very, very talented and deep group.
Yeah, I mean they've been building this for a while, Mike. So they had a lot of young talent on that roster last year, and they're a year older. So I think this is I think we're in good shape here, man. I led the show with this. I think again, similar to Will Rogers, a lot of people are overlooking this core. So there's going to be a lot of action, man. If you want to catch some balls, you go down to Mississippi State, man.
Yep. And then the offensive line, Shannon said they're bringing back 4 guys with starting experience, both tackles. Love to see that. Nick Jones at left tackle, Cameron Jones at right tackle. Cole Smith shifting to center. I hear great things. I think he's going to be their best offensive lineman this year. Stephen Lousa at right guard. And then last year, Shane, this guy didn't make much of an impact. Percy Lewis, 6'8". He was a number 5 overall JUCO recruit a year ago. So maybe in year 2 in the system, we get this giant on the field in some capacity. I already said Leon Bell, the number 4 JUCO tackle. We just got him. We got Albert Reese, Cannon Boone, Grant Jackson. We've got some nice pieces to build around, and I'm just fascinated to see how this group looks with 2 offensive line coaches to see who takes that next step further.
That's right. That's a lot of attention, man. You know what I'm saying? It's hard enough to please one coach. You got to get 2 of them now. So them boys are getting in shape right now, running their asses off. If they're anything like those offensive line coaches I've had.
Yep. All right, running backs next on my list, Shane. We got Woody Marks. He's outstanding. Simeon Price, he actually led the team in rushing in that bowl win over Illinois with 68 yards, so a capable backup. Mentioned Jeffrey Pittman, the number 1 JUCO runner, and then Seth Davis, a freshman. So I think we really need some depth to emerge here. We need to see some younger players step up and give us something that we've not seen for a full season. But this is not a slight on Woody Marks, because I think he's going to have his best season yet, I think, at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I like Marks. I think he's a good running back, and like he says, kid, this JUCO kid, if he takes the step forward, then all of a sudden you got 2 reliable backs and a somewhat of a committee here, and I think that's just what you're hoping. You're just hoping that you hit a home run here. Right.
And then a common theme with a lot of these, Shane, tight ends last, but literally because we just got these guys out of the transfer portal. We've never seen them on the field in a Mississippi State uniform. Well, at least Spivey, I guess we have a couple of years ago, but he's back. So
yeah.
I got to put the tight ends last until further notice.
Absolutely, man. I'm same.
All right, how about the defense?
We got a good tight end, but I don't know how good he is. You know what I'm saying?
Defense, Shane,
that's my dad joke for the day there.
I'm going with linebackers on the defense. There's no other answer than this, Shane. Nathaniel Watson, incredible linebacker, second in the team in tackles, led him in sacks and tackles for loss. And I even pulled this a little bit further, Shane. These are the teams that I think some of the most physical on the schedule that Mississippi State plays every year. LSU, he had 11 tackles. Yeah. Kentucky, 17 tackles. Georgia, he had 16 tackles. Auburn, 10 tackles. Ole Miss, Egg Bowl, 10 tackles, including the game winner. I mean, he shows up in the moment's brightest. He's an All-American candidate. Yeah. Probably will be an All-American. Boogie Watson there. He anchors that linebacker core.
Yeah, and it's weird. All the ones we've done so far, this is kind of a position group that we don't talk about near as much, So,
right.
Yeah, these guys are sitting at the top of the pecking order.
Mm-hmm. Jet Johnson right next to him. He led the SEC with 115 tackles, 10 tackles, 8.5 for loss, 2 sacks. He showed up big in the Egg Bowl, too, with 10 tackles and 12 tackles in the bowl game. So wrecking crew here at linebacker. We got Deshaun Page.
That was my nickname in high school, Jet. No, I'm just kidding.
We got behind them Deshaun Page, J.P. Purvis, John Mitchell, and John Lewis and Nick Mitchell. All those guys played in double-digit games last year. So a very experienced group. Next on my list here, Shane, defensive line. Bringing back a couple of guys with some experience. Nathan Pickering played in 12 games last year. Jaden Crumedy, who was one of their representatives at SEC Media Days. He got kind of banged up, but played in 5 games. Had 15 tackles last year. Jordan Davis, Shane, he's been playing so long. He committed to Butch Jones at Tennessee. Jordan Davis did, but he's still at Mississippi State getting it done. And DeMonte Russell, who played in 13 games. So not as deep as we'd want to be in the SEC on the defensive line, but some quality frontline players for the Bulldogs.
Got some pieces, Mike. We got, again, and a similar theme through Mississippi State. We've got pieces. We need some of this other talent, younger talent, exchanging in talent to emerge.
Right. So that leaves the secondary as my third ranked position, Shane. DeCarrion Richardson, 13 starts last year. He's the star of the show back here. Sean Preston, 4 starts last year. Marcus Banks, former Alabama player that transferred last year to Mississippi State. It's time for him to step up. Jordan Morant, a Michigan transfer that came down here last year. Time for him to step up. And, we mentioned the other Rogers and Jones, the LSU and Miami transfer. So we got transfers coming in as well. But some question marks, I'll say. Some very talented, but until further notice, I think we got to put the secondary for Mississippi State kind of in the last position on this defense.
And I don't want to. I mean, this is we're promoting these guys. We're Hail State fans, but Mike, if you're comparing them to other DBs in the SEC right now, I mean, are we talking how low? How low are we? How low would you go right now? I mean, again, a lot of question marks, but a lot of teams got question marks. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what you think. You're looking at them linebackers. They're on cloud 9. They're the top, and then you got these DBs. How much space is in between there?
I guess if you want a comparison, and this is not going to go over well probably, Shane, but I'd say Tennessee with some experience, maybe not like a true lockdown, but we got young talent that's unproven. So that they kind of remind me of maybe a little bit of Tennessee in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to see, because sometimes we get lost in these rankings, and you may put somebody at last, but still they're pretty damn good or something. So right. Are you worried? Because I always worry about not having good DBs, man. That's in this day and age.
Well, here's the thing I'm not worried about, Shane. That's his defensive staff that has remained intact, that know these players better than anybody, that know what they can do and, more importantly, what they can't do. And that's why they're bringing guys via the transfer portal to shore up. Maybe this guy's a good nickel. Maybe this guy's a good safety. But we had to play him out of position last year, or, just some highly – I mean, they clearly know what they're doing. Emmanuel Forbes was a first-round pick last year. So
yeah, that's true.
They know how to coach these guys up. It's just we've just not seen this group specifically on the field together.
Okay. All right. So
now's the part, Shane, I like to do my top 10 Mississippi State Bulldogs as rated by the NCAA video game. And I think you're going to like this one, Shane, because I got my man Will Rogers up at the top of the list, quarterback. I'm giving him a 90 with room to grow, certainly, but I think a 90. I think that's pretty fair for Will Rogers. I also got Boogie Watson, the linebacker, also at a 90. So kind of cheating a little bit. They're both up. They're both. He's a quarterback of the defense, so to speak.
Yeah.
I got Jet Johnson, your nickname there, 89, the third best player on the team. I got Woody Marks next at an 88, outstanding running back. Tulu Griffin, because he gives you something in the return game, bumping him up to an 87. I think he's huge breakout potential.
99 agility.
Exactly. 99 Excel. 86, Jaden Wally, the number one receiver. Great combo there. Jaden Crumedy, the defensive tackle, 85. At corner, 84. DeCarrion Richardson, give me him. I think he could be our number one. 83, wide receiver Xavion Thomas, the punt returner who's going to step up this year. And last but not least, 81, Cole Smith at center. Like I said, I think this is a big season for Cole Smith. I think he's going to emerge as our best offensive lineman.
Yeah. Okay, I dig it. I dig that list.
So, real quick, Shane, biggest camp questions for Mississippi State in my mind. Let me know what you think about this. It's really about this offense, getting it on the same page with all this transition and new coaching staff and new scheme, new terminology. I mean, there's going to be a learning curve there. We've got to get that up and running because we're playing in the SEC West, brother. We don't got time to get this going. Defensive backs, who steps up there, and finding depth at running back in the defensive line. Those are kind of my big question marks for Mississippi State entering camp.
Yeah, and well, I've got a couple myself. The DBs, that's the one I keep asking you about because that's the one I'm worried about. So who steps up on that side? Who steps up on the defensive line? We're going to have some depth. You know, we don't need to just survive the first 4 weeks. We've got 12 weeks of football we got to get through here, and so you're going to have some dudes coming in off the bench. So who are those subs, and do we have that much drop off? And then the lingering one for me is just Mike Wright. I want to see what is he going to be in this offense. I think he's at times. I remember the Hawaii game. He was one of the most. I mean, it was freaking electric, you know. And it's like, this guy is awesome, you know. And are they able to bottle some of that up and use it at Mississippi State? I think so. So that's my last one there. It's just because I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, Shane. All right, so now we get to the point, Shane, where we pick the schedule analysis here. Win, loss, or toss. I'm going to give you the ones I think Mississippi State fans should anticipate as wins. Just looking at the schedule right off the bat, you let me know if there's any disagreements here, Shane. I mean, right out the gate, these should be some easy wins here. Southeast Louisiana. Oh, come on, that's a win, right?
Northeast, Northwest, don't matter, you know. As long as it ain't LSU, that's an easy win.
Yeah. Now, Arizona comes to town. Maybe a little bit trickier. They've got a good quarterback, but we went on the road, smashed them at Arizona. At home, Arizona, that should be a win.
That should be a win, Mike. Was a win last year, should be a win this year.
Mm-hmm. All right, Western Michigan also at home. Another easy win, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Western Michigan, definitely an easy win here.
I think I just now get are coming to town.
I'm getting my schedule here, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Western Michigan, that's an easy dub there.
All right, I don't think this is going to be, a slam dunk easy because I've been touting this team up, but you're getting them at home. I think Mississippi State fans expect to beat Kentucky at home. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah. I think if you're a Bulldog fan, this is, I mean, you ask any of them, you poll them all right now, they're pointing out the wins. Kentucky is a win for them.
Right. And same deal, obviously, with Southern Miss. No Bulldog fan expects to lose to that game. And I got one more, Shane. This may not be fair because this is a hell of a rivalry, and the home team doesn't always win, but it just means the world to everyone there, and you just won it. I got to put Ole Miss on this list, Shane. No Mississippi State fan goes into a season saying, well, this is a toss-up. We might lose. Hell no. They're beating Ole Miss. So I got 6 games on this, Shane, that Mississippi State fans entering the season chalking up as a win. What's your thoughts on that?
Ooh, I had this one as a toss, Mike. But I will say one that you clearly have as a toss, I had Auburn as a win. So,
okay.
Yeah, I could see myself flip-flopping that one.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So I only have 2 games, Shane, that I think the Bulldogs are unlikely to win. And unfortunately, they're both at home, which maybe gives you a puncher's chance. Maybe you'll pull the upset. LSU at home, just because I'm on record, I think they're going to be great this year. And Alabama at home. Would you disagree with any of those? Would you throw any other team as an unlikely win for Mississippi State?
No, I mean, given the proximity of Alabama to Mississippi State, those. No, I'm just kidding. Gary's probably going to bring it up one more time if he's doing this one. So, I'm going to go Alabama, LSU, and I'm not saying, like you said, it's at home. So, you know how that place gets. That place gets freaking crazy sometimes, and who knows? They're due a good upset. So, but right
it's all
now,
about getting to the fourth quarter and making it a competitive game, and you can steal one of these if it's tight. But, if you're down
Mike,
two touchdowns at halftime, you know what I mean?
They should have beat LSU at LSU last year. So it's not a – I mean, obviously we're talking two different programs here, but then again, that's what Mississippi State has created down there, a winning team.
Now, the toss-ups, Shane, here's the beauty of this. I think these are all winnable. And I think in large part I put them as toss-ups because they're on the road. It is difficult to win in the SEC, but Mississippi State's no stranger to winning on the road. At South Carolina, that to me is a toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
At Arkansas, at Auburn, and at Texas A&M, a team that you really had A&M's numbers. So I got those 4 as toss-ups.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Auburn, obviously, I've got as a win, but and I'd probably switch, like I said, the Ole Miss. It's just that game's so unpredictable that I don't know how you could just pencil it in, But yeah, you ask Mississippi State fans, they've had that damn penciled in for the next 10 years,
Yeah, and to your point, just cover your ears real quick, Mississippi State fans, but I believe Lane Kiffin is 2-0 in Starkville. So
yeah,
that to your point. But let's break down the schedule, Shane, week by week. Again, as Mississippi State homers, best case scenario, trying to predict the schedule, the record, by the end of the season, starting with Southeast Louisiana at home. Come on, get the hell out of here. That's an easy win, right?
That's an easy win. Going to be knocked out, 11 o'clock Central Time. So, yes, you will be home early on this one. You watch the rest of the games.
This is another one. They're like, can we move it to Thursday so we can just get it over with?
Absolutely.
All right, how about Arizona week 2? Again, tricky. They got a good quarterback, but you're going to need more than a good quarterback to come to Starkville and walk away with a win. So I think it's an easy 2-0 for Mississippi State.
Well, the reason I think it's tricky, man, is I think this is where some growing pains come in. It helps that you got Will Rogers. It helps that you got Marks back there. It helps you got, defensive, leadership. So I don't think it's going to take too long to bring it together. But sometimes when we get a coach change, especially new type of play calling, it gets a little sloppy there right out of the gate. So I think this is closer than it should be, but Mississippi State does get the win. They pull away here at the end.
Now, how about this? This is going to be a critical game, Shane, and maybe, if you do exceed expectations, it's going to start right here with LSU coming to town. Like you said, you gave them a hell of a game last year. Kind of fell apart late in the game. That's why you lost the game. If you could play 4 quarters strong, maybe you can pull the upset. But I, unfortunately, am going to have to give this one to LSU. So give me Mississippi State 2-1 after 3 weeks. What do you think?
Well, I was joking about the Southeast Louisiana. On my phone here, it's got it at 4 o'clock. So that should be that'd be a bloodbath. Southeast Louisiana, they want that shit done early. You know what I'm saying? 4 o'clock, it's going to get violent over there. So that one will be a blowout. They said Mississippi State 7:30 against Arizona, and then LSU Mississippi State is penciled in at 12. So I don't know if there's any type of wiggle room there, but a noon game, Mississippi State, I think this is a huge favor for you guys, because how many times have we seen LSU like that? The Arkansas game last year, just kind of dragging a little bit. So I think this could be a ball game. It's just, I just think LSU's just got a little too much power. So give me the first loss here.
Yeah. All right. The following week, Shane, at South Carolina. Again, if you missed it, we did South Carolina on the last one. Man, they were wildly inconsistent. I mean, they lost to Missouri at home. Then they turn around and they beat Tennessee at home. And then they beat Clemson on the road. So you just never know exactly what you're going to get from Beamer ball. But, Shane, I think the worst part of this is just where this game is on the schedule. With
Dude,
LSU.
ultimate trap game here.
Right, Alabama sandwiched in between here. I mean, you're going to be taking a beating on both sides of this. I just going on the road, Williams-Brice, very tough place to play, not somewhere Mississippi State is used to playing. I unfortunately, Shane, I think I got to give this one to South Carolina.
Oh, Mike, you just love them Gamecocks, don't you? Because I'm kind of with you there, man. And what concerns, like, if this was week 2, yeah, I think they get them. I think they beat South Carolina, but coming off that tough fought potential loss with LSU, and then maybe looking ahead to Alabama, and then Williams-Brice, you said it. If this is a night game, watch out. That's going to be a dangerous environment. But I'm a Bulldog homer today, and there ain't no way we losing to South Carolina. Get the hell out of here, Mike.
All right, how about the next one, Shane? This is where your opportunity to really make the Bulldogs happy, because Alabama comes to town, and certainly, Shane, it is fair to say Nick Saban's teams for multiple years in a row now have struggled on the road. Mm-hmm. You get them rattled. They start having penalty after penalty. Maybe at this point, they still don't know who their quarterback is. This is a real opportunity to steal one here, I think, if you're Mississippi State. And I believe Alabama will be going on the road to Texas A&M the following week. That's after correct. This. So trap game city right here. There's reasons to believe in Mississippi State. God, they might have to give Zach Arnett a contract extension a couple games into his tenure if he gets this win. Unfortunately, Shane, I don't have that. I got Mississippi State going down to Alabama once again.
Yeah, I mentioned that season when they were going undefeated. I mean, they had a shot there with Bama, and still with the stars aligned, they just couldn't get it done. It's almost like that. It's just that. You know how it is, Mike. You just got that moment. You just can't. You make it bigger than it is. You see that, and I think that's where we're at with Mississippi State right now. They're making Bama bigger than they are, and it's just tough placement. Even though I do like potential trap game with Bama, you got A&M. You had Ole Miss the week prior. Who knows? Maybe Lane pulled off some kind of magic, but I think we get a loss here, Mike.
All right, so Western Michigan, this game could loom large, Shane, particularly if the season plays out as I just forecasted it. You don't want to have these games, Alabama cost you twice and have, upset cities here. But I believe in Zach Arnett, believe in these Bulldogs. I don't think there's any chance Western Michigan gets them, but this will be a tremendous opportunity for a get-right game, so to speak.
Get-right game right before a bye week. So I think this is I think it's a little sluggish, obviously coming off a potential loss there, but I think they quickly pull ahead here. This is going to be one of those that's a second-half blowout kind of games.
Right. Now, you said something interesting there, Shane, and honestly, I was leaning towards them Razorbacks, but 2 weeks to prepare for Razorbacks going on the road. Who knows? I mean, Arkansas struggled at the tail end of last season. If that carries over, 2 new coordinators, everything you could say about Mississippi State and their coaching turnover, it's almost the same with Arkansas. I know Sam Pittman is back, but massive scheme change for offense and defense for the Razorbacks. I don't know if this is an upset or not, Shane, but give me them Bulldogs to beat Arkansas 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I wouldn't make this that's not an upset, Mike. This is expected down there in Mississippi State. You know what I'm saying? If you're a homer here and the stars are aligned, this is where we're at, man. The pieces are coming together. Everyone's healthy. We're starting to figure out the DB situation. We've got some young emerging talent on the defensive line. Marks is the deal. Will Rogers is the deal. These receivers are taking off. There's no reason that you should lose to Arkansas. So, I think this 2 weeks to prepare for this one. This is going to be a good game for him and gets him back in the top 25.
Right. Now, the following week, very tricky game, Shane, on the road, on the plains, not an easy place to play. Everybody's falling in love with Hugh Freeze and his ability to work the transfer portal. who knows if he's even a head coach, Shane, by this point in time. He's one scandal away from being banned from coaching in the SEC. But, no, I kid. I think Auburn will be much improved this next season. But Mississippi State's gotten the better of Hugh Freeze many a time, Shane. Give me another W for Mississippi State. Again, this will be difficult going on the road back-to-back weeks, Arkansas and Auburn. I think those are very winnable games, but you could easily talk me into Mississippi State losing them as well. I think the difference is having veteran leadership with Will Rogers and Boogie Watson and Jet Johnson. This is not the first rodeo for your key players here. That's why I'm not as phased as I would be for a much younger team in the SEC going on the road, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the meat of your schedule. I know everybody points to Alabama and the LSU game, but these 4 weeks right here with Arkansas, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and now Auburn here, not in that order, but you know what I'm saying, those 4 teams, every week you got to bring your A game. You cannot afford to take your foot off the gas or you will get passed up. So Auburn is that type of team. I think they are going to be that type of team. They're building. They're building something. Mississippi State had it. They lost a couple of pieces, but they're not building like Auburn is, and I think that's where we're going to be able to take advantage of the competitive depth here. So, give me a win down here in the Plains.
Now, the following week, Shane, Kentucky comes to town. I anticipate this to go down to the wire.
Yeah,
another one that I think either team could win. I think Kentucky will be much improved, Shane, but I ain't counting out them cowbells. I'll tell you that right now. Give me another close one. I mean, these 3 games, these are all 50-50 type ball games here, but I think Mississippi State picking up some momentum. The breaks will go their way at home. Give me a win over Kentucky.
Yeah, this is a tough one, Mike. Because here's what you're predicting, that Kentucky doesn't figure it out. You know, that all these new pieces, these new toys that Stoops has got up there isn't legit, which Kentucky, you're going to have your day, all right? Because, I mean, we're talking about the Bulldogs having it figured out here. They are just as talented, man. This roster's just as talented. They got just as good of a quarterback. They got just as good as a running back. You know, they got some dudes at the receiver spot. I mean, this is going to be a fun, exciting offense, and this could be a hell of a shootout, Mike. I mean, this may be kind of like them old, what was that, midnight pack games, you know? It's like you're drifting off to sleep and you're watching about 80 points go up on the board. That's what this could be. But if it's a coin toss, with my Homer glasses, I'm going to go to the Bulldogs. So give me Mississippi State with another victory here.
Now, Shane, here's probably where I'm going to lose some fans here, because at Texas A&M, I know you've owned A&M, particularly at Kyle Field for some reason. You win more than you seemingly lose if you're Mississippi State. But, you know, as we do these previews, maybe I buy too much into the teams we're talking about, because I'm kind of falling for Texas A&M once again. They could be awful again, Shane. And if they are, Mississippi State will win this game. But I just think they basically got all their chips pushed into the middle of the table, so to speak, on this year. If A&M's awful, I think they're going to fire everybody. They've got too much talent. It's at home, one of the toughest places to play. Even when they were awful, I mean, it's still a tough place to play. The winning streak for me, it gets snapped right here, Shane. I'm going Texas A&M.
Yeah, it's and I hate to kind of go to the future here, but Mike, I'm going back and forth between a handful of games. There was the Kentucky game, there was the Texas A&M game, and there was the Ole Miss game. And I feel like even if the stars are aligned, we're going to drop one of those. So clearly I didn't pick the Kentucky. There's no way in hell I'm picking Ole Miss. So this is going to be our loss here, Mike. I'm with you, and I don't know if maybe, like you said, we did them earlier in the year, and maybe that's just kind of it's still in the back of my mind because I'm in love with that roster. Yeah. But the problem, too, that you're going to run into is where these guys got their biggest question marks, Texas A&M doesn't. They've got – you talk about super talented wide receivers, and then we got a potential secondary that may not be able to stop them.
Right.
We've got some of the biggest, nastiest linemen down there in College Station. And again, all this is hinged on Jimbo figuring it out. So maybe I should give Mississippi State the edge since they typically win. But I'm gonna say this is gonna be the one that catches them here. Give me the third loss of the year.
Okay, and then the following week, Southern Miss. I mean, come on, we're giving that one to the Bulldogs, right?
Brett Favre out there in them Levi's? No, I don't think so. Get out of here.
Oh, he might sue us for that. But all right, and then final game, Egg Bowl at home again. Another coin toss game, Shane. But like I said, Bulldogs they chalk this up to a win every year. So I mean, it means the world to them. Ole Miss could certainly win this football game. Rivalry, anything can happen in a rivalry. But we won that damn Egg Bowl for Mike Leach last year. Let's keep it one more time. Hopefully they put a pirate eye patch on it like we talked about previously. Keep that thing in Starkville. Give me the Bulldogs, Shane. And that would make them 8-4 on my predictions here. And I think a reasonable Mississippi State fan would be pretty happy with 8-4, and I think you need a couple breaks to get there, but I think you can get there.
Mike, I got 9-3. I mean, we're eating Thanksgiving all fat and sassy, watching them whoop up on Ole Miss here. So I think they close out the season strong. And if you look at a 9-3 as a perfect, like as a homer, man, as everything works out perfectly, and you come out giving the coaching change, I think this is a springboard for Mississippi State. And I mean, that's the key, Mike. We don't want to see all the work that got to this point here go away. And if we can continue, even if we stay even, we had a 9-3 season last year, Mike, so if that happens, or if we can maintain it during this transition, I think as a Bulldog fan, you're tickled pink because better days are ahead. As soon as Arnett gets his guys, we keep that's what we do around the water cooler, man. As soon as he gets some recruits in, man, we're going to be all right. So I think if we can get a 9-3, we'll be happy with that.
I can't wait for the reaction, Shane, to say, "Oh, cousin Shane, how much he been drinking?" He's saying Mississippi State gonna win 9 games. Well, what they just do last year? They won 9 football games. It ain't that crazy, you know what?
No, I know. And again, sometimes we get them blinders on and we get a little too head over heels. And maybe I should have, and just penciled in a 12-0 season here. But I would love nothing more. This is a team, brother. This is a team that could sneak up and surprise one of those bigs. You talked about LSU. Mike, my 3 losses: Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama. If it's next year and you told me they beat one of those guys, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd love to watch the damn game, but again, it wouldn't just blow my mind. It's not like a gigantic upset anymore. So I'm excited, man. Damn, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Keep in mind,
to see
Shane, last year's 9-win season came with a year where they had to catch Georgia out of the East.
Yeah.
They didn't lose a damn game, obviously, most dominant team in college football. We're trading that for South Carolina. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to South Carolina, but 100 out of 100. Someone that, if you ask, would you rather play Georgia or would you rather play South Carolina? You're going to take South Carolina at this point in time. So you're coming out ahead on the scheduling front as well.
Yeah. No, I dig it, man. Don't get me started. I'll start erasing some of these losses, Mike. I'll have them winning a natty this year.
Well, brother, so that's another preview in the book. You got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, man. Again, thanks for all the love and support on the Big Orange Walks. We referenced it on the other show. We're going to keep saying it. Don't forget. What is it, the 15th?
Yeah, Saturday the 15th.
Saturday the 15th from 3 to 6. We're going to be in Nashville. So you need to put in your PTO time now. Tell your boss. Don't do like my brother. My brother just put his in. I was like, dude, we've had media days scheduled for 6 months, and you're just now putting your time in. Get your time in. Bring the lady down to Nashville. Have a ball. Come see us. Hang out. The Bearded Iris there by the top. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff in Nashville. It's Nashville, man. So come hang out with us. Drink some cold beers. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, brother. Well, I can't wait for the next episode to show you who we're going to preview on the next That SEC podcast. But thank you very much. But man, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's
Just a rambling man. The roles have reversed, Mike.
well, buddy, I guess I need to cut myself off here
Yeah.
before I say something crazy. But I appreciate you as always. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Hell State.
Where are you going? Where are you going? Are you going somewhere?
I got all the time in the world, man.
You got time for one more video?